Welcome to the Pest Empire Builder Podcast. On this episode, we're talking about running your business with a partnership, without a partnership. Man, there's a lot of things to consider. You do not want to miss this episode. And welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you tuned in today on today's episode of Pest Empire Builder. I'm hanging out with Rob again, and we're going to be talking about business partnerships, man. Hey, Rob, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. It was negative 27 when I woke up this morning, so nice brisk walk to start the day.
What?
How about you? Thanks for having me on, by the way.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Wow. I don't know. I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so we live in the desert, but we do get 4 seasons because we're high in elevation. So we are a mile high, kind of like people say Denver's the mile high city. Well, so is Albuquerque. And we're a mile in elevation. So we're in the desert, but we have elevation. And so that gives us a nice winter. It was Celsius. I look at temperatures in Celsius. So it was 8 degrees Celsius. So that would be like 40 degrees. So Fahrenheit.
That's pretty comfy. Yeah.
I can wear a t-shirt and jeans outside if I need to. At night it cools off, but negative 27. Where do you live again? Remind me. I thought you were on the East Coast.
No, I'm just outside of St. Paul, Minnesota. So we're right in the frigid tundra.
My frigid tundra
gives me crap. She'll pull up temperatures in Antarctica on some of the stations there, like the weather stations, and show us that it's warmer in Antarctica than it is here at home for us. So,
oh my gosh, that negative 27 is crazy.
Yeah.
So if you take like the bucket of water and throw it outside, does it freeze in the air before it hits the ground?
Yeah, you definitely can do that. It's got to be hot water, so the molecules are moving, and it has to be the right amount. And you throw it, but yeah, it'll just crystallize and go up when it's. Yeah, so somewhere around that negative 20, negative 30, that's where it becomes feasible.
Wow. I've seen that like on TikTok or something, but I've never been in an environment. I don't think I've ever been in an atmosphere that is that cold ever in my life.
Yeah, I don't think it should be one of your goals either.
No, it is not. In fact, it is my goal to not be in one of those atmospheres ever in my life. If I find myself living in a place that's negative 27, made some major decisions, some wrong ones. Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
Not to knock on your place where you live. I'm totally slamming on where you live.
Hey, it keeps people away. Like it limits the number of people willing to come here.
So. Well, yeah, and if you're willing to live through that, you have a certain amount of grit in your life. That's for sure.
Very true.
Yeah, it's not for any sissies, you know. You got to have some you got to have something in you that says, "Yeah, I'm good for negative 27 degrees today."
Yes.
Wow, man. Wow. That's crazy. Well, right before we hit record, we started talking about this idea of like having business partners and partnerships, and it's interesting. You and I both have owned several companies over our life, and I've had some where I've had business partners, and then I have some where I've been solo. I've been the sole owner of it. Right now, my current business, primary business, is I'm a sole owner. I have no partners on this. How about you? What are you in right now? Are you in a business partnership, or are you in a solo venture?
Yeah, right now I am in a business partnership. We just finished being acquired in our pest control business. So that one had its own set, but then with another business that we've got some rental lodges out in Idaho, and I have 2 partners in that, and we just actually expanded our portfolio a little bit. But yeah, 2 other guys, all 3 of us are totally different. Me personally, I prefer working with a partner rather than by myself. You've got the obvious benefit of you don't have to share with anybody when it's just you, but it is really nice to have other minds that come to the table that can see things from a different perspective, have somebody to bounce different ideas off of, somebody that's willing to push back. I don't think that's inherent. I don't think in just having another person, you're going to make it better. But I think if you have the right people, it can make the opportunities expand, the horizon widen a little bit. What's been your experience on that? I mean, obviously you're in the solo right now.
Yeah. I think it's pros and cons, right? Like you said, I think right now owning a business and And for those that don't know, my main business right now is home inspection, right? I have a home inspection company. And then I also do a lot of business coaching. And part of business coaching is I'm involved with both Inspection Empire Builder and the Pest Empire Builder mastermind groups. And then I also speak at conferences, and I do entrepreneurial men's retreats. I do one-on-one coaching, group coaching. And so I end up helping a lot of other business owners hopefully find time and financial freedom. So in everything that I'm doing right now, I don't have any business partners, and which is interesting place to be. Normally I've had different ventures where I have partners. So I would say pros and cons to not having a business partner. You kind of get to do everything by yourself, which is a pro and a con. The con is that, there's a lot more pressure on me, and the heavy lifting is on me. And it's like to sit down with another business partner who is both bought in like I am into a place of like, hey, we're going to row this boat together. It's really nice to have somebody rowing it with you. Whereas instead of rowing it by yourself, it's a different set of leadership skills, I think, and it has different set of challenges by myself. But I do like being, I don't know, I like both of them. I've been in good business partnerships, and I've been in ones that were challenging. Finding a business partner is, you're getting married essentially to somebody. It's a financial marriage. It's a business type marriage, and you are stuck with this person legally, right? Through a corporation, through an LLC or something like that. Just like a marriage, you're signing legal documents that you're going to be in a life partner, a romantic relationship together. You're signing documents. You're basically, and you're tied together. There's assets in there. There's income. There's employees or kids. Like you have all these things that are very similar. I think finding a framework to be able to pick a good partner in business is super important. When I was younger, I partnered with somebody that wasn't a good fit, and it got real toxic real fast. And that was hell. I mean, it was just hell on earth. And it's like my entire livelihood is attached to this person that I have come to really not like.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. It's interesting you mentioned the life partner. I don't know that I had really thought about it prior, but speaking about my partners in the lodges, I've been working with them for longer than I've been married to my wife. So yeah, that longevity in there is something I definitely did not have that in mind. I knew when I was dating my wife and we started talking about marriage, I was thinking about how long I'm committing to this person, and it's an eternal type decision.
Yeah.
But then when I was starting out with my partners the first year in business, it was just like, yeah, I'll help you this year. We'll do this for a couple of years, and we'd always give ourselves like 5-year horizons. But it's different because you can keep renewing that. Whereas I don't think that would fly very well with my wife. And I was like, all right, let's give this a 5-year run. Come 2030, we'll reevaluate. We'll see where we're at. Maybe we go different ways. But maybe that would help people. Maybe they'd be better at home.
I was about to say, as a man, because I was married for 21 years, I went through a divorce. I've been divorced now for a number of years, but I can tell you that I think in hindsight in my marriage, if we'd had every 5 years had a sit down reevaluation, an honest to God, like this is working, this isn't. Do we want to keep doing this or not keep doing this? Is it worth continuing to invest? I think my marriage would have been probably healthier and stronger had I had those type of mile markers like I do with business partners. It might have actually helped my marriage be stronger now they're saying this, so if I get married again, maybe I'll do a 5-year contracts with like options, with
KPIs, right? And everything
KPIs
that
and
you're
options.
Going to measure and like accountability to the full extent.
Yeah, exactly. You need to cook me dinner at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
That sounds so misogynistic. I don't want to go down this path we're recording. I don't want to go down this path. This is going to get real ugly real fast. But yeah, like KPIs on your spouse. That's really kind of messed up. but
it seems I think it'd be an interesting experiment. There's your next business. Whenever you get bored of this one, start another one as a marriage counselor and run it like a business, like 5-year contracts. They can do 3 to 5.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's the business of marriage, right?
Guidance.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And I wonder if that would help it. Yeah, there we go. I should retitle this episode something about the KPIs of marriage.
Yeah, exactly right. That'll draw us a very different crowd. People will be wondering
what the heck? These pest control guys are crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like
I
think
talking about your experience and like you were talking about rowing and going a different speed. I've kind of got two questions I want to get out of you, but the first one is just speed. So I've seen some people when they're with somebody else, it gives them a different level of accountability and they work harder, they work faster, they help push each other in that. And I've seen other partnerships where they have the other person almost be a hurdle or a distraction where they're not able to get into their deep work. They're not able to keep going, where there's just too much friction, not necessarily from combative disagreement, that type of thing, but just friction in energy and resources, trying to determine how those are divided. So was that one of your things that you considered when you were going into it yourself? Do you tend to move faster on your own, or how has that speed of progress been for you?
Yeah, I'm a very fast mover, and when the decision is made of this is what we're going to do, this is the next step. You know, I'm a dog on a bone, man. Like I'm fast and I'm tenacious, and nothing stands in my way, and I just go. And having a business partner who slows me down is probably a good thing. I'm the guy that's going to make a lot of mistakes along the way, but I'm going to make decisions fast and I'm going to execute, and that is something I'm very much known for. And so when I'm by myself, I'm unthrottled, and without a governor in place, like I'm ungoverned. And so without a governor in place, sometimes I have to intentionally put governing steps inside of me. Having a partner brings a level of accountability to me that I don't have as right now. Like I don't have accountability. I just I can do what I want, and I don't have to think. I mean, I have accountability. I have a staff. I have a team. But I have a general manager that runs my business for me. And so together we're able to have a balance. I read a book a while back called Rocket Fuel, and it talks about the visionary versus the implementer. And that book really changed the way I looked at my life and kind of how I am in business. I'm very much a visionary guy. I see the big picture and I just start going for it. The challenge with being that kind of a leader is that I have a lot of ideas, and like a lot of them. I have all these ideas and I think they're brilliant, right? They're not, but I think they're brilliant. And so having an implementer in place in a business partnership, it's the yin and the yang. The implementer is the one who goes, well, Matt, hey, there's 100 great ideas. I think we should focus on this one. This is the one I think is the best idea. And although I think all these are great, they're not. But the implementer can see it and go, this is the one we should be pursuing. So I don't have that implementer. Well, I didn't have that implementer for a while, but now that I have Danny, my general manager, I have to be humble enough to submit myself to him. Even though I'm the owner and he's an employee, but he's a high-level manager. And so he's my implementer. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about this or this and this? And he's learned now, and we've talked through this, that I gave him the books, like, read this book. I'm a visionary. You're the implementer. And he's like, yeah, totally. And so he's now helps me with that. But in a business partnership, if everybody's an implementer and nobody's a visionary, you're not going to go anywhere. And if everybody's a visionary and nobody's an implementer, there's going to be a lot of frustration. You need that balance of those two pieces. And in fact, every great company that you look at has those two pieces in it. And I can give you examples, but yeah, where do you find yourself on that scale? Are you like a fast moving guy or a slow moving guy? What do you think of that?
It depends. And I like that you brought up the visionary versus the implementer, because at Rove Pest Control, when I was working there, it was the same thing. And it wasn't necessarily in the partnership on the business side of things, like the actual structured partnership agreement. But it was with my director of operations, and he was my speed check, because my mind would just get going and I would have idea after idea after idea. Mm-hmm. And I really liked what he came up with, where rather than shooting down an idea or doing these different things, because we also came to the conclusion that neither one of us was good at knowing which idea was good or which one was the best. And so all we could do was experiment. So it was always like, hey, we're going to take this, we're going to run a trial run, an experiment, we're going to test it against this and get some actual results and see what's going to work better. So we had that agreement. But then again, you're down to this thing of like, how many experiments can we run? And so he had a log that he would keep. And at the end of every one of our meetings, he'd be like, okay, now we just need to go through and prioritize. So currently I'm working on A, B, and D. You just came to an agreement with me that we're going to implement C and F. Where do you want that to fall in all of this? And so then we would discuss that. And that was kind of my forced checkpoint to figure out how I wanted to prioritize those, especially as being the visionary in that conversation. Like, where do I want my implementer to focus his efforts and which is the most important? And that would really change the dynamics of our conversation and would help me reset for the next meeting. So I wasn't just constantly redoing my idea generation and coming at him with a bunch of more things to consider. But it's interesting. I noticed another thing with me too is I waffle back and forth between implementer and visionary. And if I don't have enough stuff to keep me busy, if I don't have enough to implement, then I'm going to start thinking up ideas. And so I think my natural wiring is to be busy. And if I'm not, then that entrepreneurial boredom kicks in. And it's like, okay, we got to be creating something. We've got to find something else to work on. And so that's when that vision thing will start going, and I'll just start trying to push faster than maybe the organization is ready for without somebody that maybe is that connecting piece. So if you had to choose, just kind of playing with this idea of your checkpoint person is a manager, not an owner.
Yeah.
Do you think it's better to have that be somebody who's a high-level manager so they're in between the ownership and the frontline worker or the customer versus having a business partner be that counterpoint?
Oh, so I think if it's a business partner, they have to bring a certain level. They have to bring a business partner brings a certain level of ownership, obviously, and how they carry themselves. I don't know, man. Like I like both. I've done both. I've liked both. I like where I'm at now with my manager now. And he's just a phenomenal guy. I would go into business with him. Like I would have him as a business partner, no hesitation whatsoever. But I'm not going to give up equity in the business that I built up to this point, just for free, like why would I, so there's that balance that's there, but he's the kind of guy that I absolutely would get into partnership with. In fact, if I were to buy another business, if I were to expand in any direction, I would absolutely invite him to be part of that, expansion as a business partner on those ventures. So I kind of think the idea of like relating it back to marriage and dating, we've dated in this sense of like what we're doing now, running a business together, but it's my business. I don't know, man, like there's something about when things are going hard, when it's an employee, you have to carry yourself a certain way when things are difficult. If it's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? I can't put that emotional load onto someone that works for me. Because if I'm carrying in the sky's falling on a dark day energy to a staff who's an employee, that is an unhealthy environment, right? It's an unhealthy emotional load to put onto someone who's working for you. Whereas if it's a business partner, I think it's fair that the two business partners can sit down and co-own that emotional load. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I think you're hitting on a key distinction that I was looking for. So thanks for finding that. When you're talking about a visionary versus an implementer, rarely does that emotional load need to be part of that. More, the visionary needs to be checking the emotional load of the implementer to make sure they're not about to break or
Yep.
go the other direction. But if you're talking about, as an owner, and that can be difficult if you're the sole owner, you may not have somebody that you can explore that load with outside of, just yourself, because you can't dump that on your employees. But that's where it's kind of helpful to have a business partner in there that you can bounce that off of, especially if they're another visionary, because usually when that load is getting really heavy, it's because there's something missing. Like there's too much, and maybe somebody with some more vision can help channel some of the problems or solutions or whatever needs to come to get things where it needs to go, where one person that has that emotional load is obviously in a rut or at a stuck point and needs some other vision rather than more implementation and alignment in there.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so then if you're going to go different ways, so this is something that I've done is in a partnership, having a buy-sell agreement on the front end of the partnership. And that's where you can execute that, the buy-sell agreement. And it's kind of like a prenup where it's like, hey, if we get to the place where one of us wants to leave the business, how are you going to do that, in a very, in a balanced way? And so what happens if, someone says, I don't want to do this with you anymore? And, and so that prenup kind of thing kicks in. I think having a 5-year review is important, but I also think having that buy-sell agreement in place on the front end is important too.
100% makes a huge difference. If everything is predetermined, those conversations can go very different too, because in some cases, somebody's really willing to take a stand if nothing is at stake. But if it comes down to like, yeah, we agreed, so are you saying it's time to exit? Well, maybe I can tolerate this, and maybe I'm not going to be such a dink on it, and you can realign, and maybe you'll explore some other ways, whether it's adjusting compensation or figuring out where you can create the balance between those things. I think that just having that isolated piece that is the stable foundation a lot of times will allow the room for more creativity to find a better solution for it.
Yeah, like having a buy-sell agreement, you mean?
Yeah, the buy-sell agreement, because you have a fixed exit. As soon as that comes up, as long as someone's not being a dink with that and like threatening every month, like, well, I have this, I'm just going to leave if you don't do it my way.
Yeah.
But if
you got to structure those the right way. Yeah. So if you got to structure those the right way on a buy-sell, right? If you do it the right way, and it's like, okay, well, if it's a 50-50 ownership, hypothetically, between two people, and then you're going to structure a buy-sell agreement, it says, okay, if person A is pulling the trigger, they get less value out of this buy-sell agreement. The other person gets more value.
Yeah, it brings a lot more certainty to the equation. And surprisingly, the more certainty there is and the more predefined terms you have, the more room there is for creativity. So it's much easier to have creativity in the 10% remaining than it is to have 90% open and try and think of something.
Yeah, I forget the study. You might know it. But there was a study with kids in a playground and a fence. And so they put a fence around the playground, and the kids that were playing in the playground, they would go right up to the fence. They would climb the fence. They'd mess with the fence. They were running around. They were playing. There was tons of activity, and the kids took advantage of the entire playground that was there. And then one day, over the weekend, the crew came in and removed the fence. And so the kids come out, and now they can go as far as they want to go. There's no limits. When they showed up on the playground, they became insecure, and they didn't go to where the fence line used to be. They stayed closer to the playground equipment, and they wouldn't explore as much. And they didn't feel the confidence to be able to have total freedom because the fence was missing. And then when they put the fence back in a certain amount of time later, let the kids get comfortable with the lack of fencing. And then once they put the fence back in, guess what? The kids expanded back out to where the fence was again. And they felt way more secure and way more comfortable having that fence in there. And I think that's true in most relationships, in that whether it's a business, an employee, ownership, a spouse, whatever, when you have boundaries that are really clear, really defined, that everybody understands, it allows for more freedom within that fence than if the boundaries are gone and you think I'm going to have more freedom, but you end up not having as much freedom because you don't have as much confidence in where the boundaries are at.
Yeah, that was an excellent study. And yeah, it's the playground study. Really aptly named, but it's an exploration of boundaries as liberation.
Correct.
And yeah, 100%.
And so with a business partnership, having boundaries is very important. I had one business partnership that did not have all the boundaries, did not have all of the things. It became very toxic, and it became a very, very much a problem. And I learned very hard lessons there that were very expensive in that business. And I determined I'll never do that again. And next time I have a business partnership, we're going to have the boundaries very crystal clear. And the next partnership where I had the boundaries, it was a phenomenal business, phenomenal relationship. It was in the electrical contracting business. And in 2008, with the financial crisis that kind of hit, it put construction to almost like a light switch, turned off so much construction. And being in the construction industry, it just essentially, the business just stopped. And so we kind of sat down and decided, do we want to try to prop this thing up and weather the storm? Or do we want to shut it down and walk away? And we both opted to shut it down and walk away. We'd made some money with it, and we decided, I don't want to be in this business anymore anyway. And so both of us were at the same place. We were able to shut it down, split it 50-50 and walk away. But that business was a phenomenal business, a great business partnership, because we had all the boundaries in place. We built the fences. Yeah. Man, this has been a great episode. I really enjoyed it. And we kind of rambled in different places, but ultimately talking about this idea of business partnerships and how to build those relationships, super critical in any business venture you're at. So, man, so people might want to get in more information, right? Like, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
Yeah, probably the best way is just to hop on LinkedIn and search for Rob Greer. And I think that's probably the easiest. Shoot me a message on there, and if it looks interesting, then I'll be happy to connect and discuss things. They can also just hop into Pest Empire Builder. I'm one of the coaches in there, and especially if you're in the pest industry, we're doing a lot of consulting and guiding and teaching for people, helping people set up systems and do stuff there. So that might actually be easier than trying to find me amongst all the Rob Greers on LinkedIn.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. And if you want to get in touch with me, probably the easiest way is on Instagram, ironically. So the.matthew.williams, slide in my DMs on Instagram. That's the best way to find me. You'll see all my podcasting content on there. And this bald, sexy head just glowing with some sort of glare. You'll see it all over there. So Instagram, the.matthew.williams. Yeah, man. So anyhow, it's been great having you on the show today. And I can't wait to have you on next time.
Hey, it's great chatting with you, Matt. Thanks.